Sometimes it's totally okay to be sad.
Those were up, and they did.
More smarts and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for a film from 2015, and this was one of Pixar's two films they did in 2015. One would be released in the summer and would be gain critical acclaim. One would be released in November of 2015 and be a flop. Now, what's this review going to be for? Well, this is going to be for none other than 2015's Inside Out, which is directed by Pete Docter, the director of films like Monsters, Inc. and Up, and recently Soul. So, what's the plot of this movie? Growing up can be a bumpy road, and it's no exception for Riley, who is uprooted from her Midwest life when her father starts a new job in San Francisco. So, pretty much like all of us, Riley is guided by her emotions that are joy, fear, anger, disgust, sadness. The emotions live in a headquarters that's in Riley's mind, right there, and they help advise her through everyday life. As Riley and her emotions struggle to adjust to a new life in San Francisco, turmoil then ensues in the headquarters. Although joy in Riley's main and most important emotion is trying to keep things positive, the emotions conflict on how best to navigate a new city, house, and a school. Yeah. So how was this made? Well, it was around several months after Up release when Pete Docter in October 2009 conceived Inside Out after observing the changes in his daughter's personality as she grew older. The project was then greenlit, and Doctor co-director Ronnie Del Camino developed the story, and they consulted psychologists and neurologists in an effort to accurately portray the mind. The development took 5.5 years on a budget of $475 million. A significant change to the film story and characters delayed the film's production schedule, though. But now, after the movie was finally released and shot and marketed, it would debut at the 68th Cannes Film Festival on May 18, 2015, and would be released in the United States on June 19, 2015. And this was around the time when, ever since Toy Story 3 received critical acclaim, the films they were doing after Toy Story 3 were becoming mediocre received. Cars 2 made money, but it was a critical dud in comparison. Then they did Brave, which I'm not a fan of. And somehow that got Best Animated Feature instead of better films that year like Wreck-It Ralph or Frankenweenie. Yeah, and then of course after Brave, they did a prequel called Monsters University. And it's more mediocre. And then 2014 they went on hiatus, but Good Dinosaur was supposed to come out that time. But it got delayed to November 2015 because it was going through so much production crap. So they wouldn't really fully come back until 2015 with this movie. And this film was their first since Toy Story 3 to receive critical acclaim for the craftsmanship, the screenplay, the subject matter, the plot, the vocal performances, especially those of the cast. The National Board of Review and Film Institute, they named Inside Out one of the best films of 2015. At the box office, it also grossed $858 million worldwide, and it finished its theatrical run as the 7th highest grossing film of 2015. And I think for a while, it even had the best opening weekend for an original film. And of course, it was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, predictably won Best Animated Feature, and Film and Philosophy Journal, they recognized Inside Out as one of the best animated films ever made. And as you all know, a sequel released this year. Now it's my reaction, well, yeah. After Toy Story 3, Pixar struggled. They had a mediocre prequel Monsters University, and they had the 2 bad films, Cars 2 and Brave. So they needed a new, fresher idea to regain themselves again. So we got a film about the emotions inside of just about all of us for their new idea. Now, when I saw the teasers, I was wondering how this was going to turn out. And then the film released, and this showed that Pixar had really come back to their 2000 selves again, briefly until The Good Dinosaur released. And I'm going to be honest here. When it comes to my reaction to The Good Dinosaur, I think The Good Dinosaur is overhated. Everyone's like, "The Dinosaur was the worst Pixar films ever made." You clearly haven't watched all their Pixar movies. Have you not seen Cars 2? Have you not seen Brave? Have you not seen their new shit like Twerking Red or Shit Year? The Lightyear spinoff or the Shit Lightyear? Yeah, I think those are worse than The Good Dinosaur. The Good Dinosaur at least tried to be a Pixar film. It tried to have a message, and it tried to have emotional bits. Did Twerking Red have any of those stuff? What was the message of Twerking Red? That we should be bratty to our parents and bitch and whine about not getting to go to a concert and then twerk our ass to save the day? Shit message. Did Lightyear have that? No, it was just an Interstellar ripoff. Did Cars 2 have a message? No. Did Brave have a message other than a also bratty, unlikable protagonist? No. The Good Dinosaur at least had a message about growing up. And at least it had some emotional bits. At least they tried to make it an actually good film. The problem with Good Dinosaur was the production troubles and stuff. That's kind of the problem. And they released it around the same time as Inside Out, and so yeah, people kind of just gave up on it. That was kind of the thing in my eyes. But Good Dinosaur, I'd rather watch over much shittier Pixar stuff. Any day. And I actually think it's underrated. But anyways, my reaction to Inside Out. Back to this. This was around the very day after I completed my final school exam when I was finishing up 11th grade. It was kind of the first beginning of summer break that time. Probably one of the last summer break I had before my final year of high school. I'd be finally done with my shitty school life. I went to see this movie in the theater somewhat like the first day of summer break. And this easily would have to be my favorite Pixar film of the 2010s, no doubt. Like, this is exactly the movie they needed after 3 mediocre years for them. Like, this is about, like, a simple 94 minutes of pure joy and emotion. It was definitely a huge return to masterclass from Pixar. It was easily their best work since Toy Story 3. It does, like, it deserved every bit of praise it got and more. And yeah, like, this was a film that just about everyone was raving when it came out. Like, the animation is something otherworldly. Like, we're beyond the point of, like, where we express that Pixar's animation is gorgeous. Was definitely gorgeous. And the animation was some of the most intelligent and dense animation I had seen when this came out. Like, there were definitely some really great Easter eggs in every frame, every visual element. The movie was rounded and it was clearly thought out, and that made the storytelling very gripping. And with the storytelling, you really do a film with visual storytelling and brilliance. Like, when I was in 5 minutes into the movie, you could definitely tell how things are going to go. Like, it's definitely a great lesson on how to think things out visually and how the visuals can be used for an advantage as much as possible. And they have smart, engaging ideas. And for the layers the film has, like the deepness of its themes, like the intelligence of the story, the subtext behind every action and word, like the comedic touches, the funny pop culture references, and the poetic approach to both the characters' of joy and sadness. That includes the emotional depth, just about everything, really. And a lot of things here are really gut-wrenching. Like, there's not one scene where you feel time's being wasted. There's not one word where a character speaks that doesn't feel genuine. And none of the ideas here are ever unoriginal or boring. And it's emotionally engaging. It gives you a mirror which to reflect your life and think about, and it doesn't stop there. It gives you the opportunity to even laugh about it as well. And as far as concepts go, like, I really liked the amount of detail and coherence in its execution. And the visuals were either really stunning, the colors are rich and vibrant, and the characters are very memorable. And some of the most poignantly heartbreaking lines of dialogue in a Pixar movie, or even feature animation in general. It's every bit of a Disney Pixar classic, and it was definitely, at the time, a return to form as it could get. So, how do we start the film? Well, we start off with a girl named Riley, who in this one was voiced by Kayla Dias, being born in Minneapolis. And literally in her mind, you have 5 physical forms of emotions that get created as well. You have joy, who's voiced by Amy Poehler, sadness, voiced by Phil Smith, fear, voiced by Bill Hader, disgust, voiced by Bitchy Kelling, and anger, who's voiced by Louis Black. The emotions, they're charged with organizing Riley's memories, their house and spheres, that's like memory orbs. The orbs are considered very relevant and definitely core memories. Like, they power these 5 islands of Riley's subconscious, like in reflecting this different aspect of her personality. And our lead emotion, joy, is always attempted to keep Riley happy. Anger, on the other hand, is trying to keep her life fair. Disgust, like, pretty much prevents her from being poisoned, both physically and socially. And fear pretty much keeps her safe. Their emotion, the one emotion, though, sadness, doesn't think she has a purpose in her mind, or that of the other emotions, and she often gets ignored as a result. And because its sadness is Christless, like, the other emotions focus on organizing Riley's memories. Like, usually, like, when we first meeting our characters, you have joy keeping Riley happy as soon as she's born, and then another emotion comes in, sadness, and pretty much causes baby Riley to cry. And then we see a montage where Riley's trying to navigate her way around, like, the whole area, but then her dad picks her up, sits her down to eat broccoli, and then disgust is pretty much introduced, makes her get disgusted at the broccoli. And then, of course, her dad says, if you don't eat broccoli, no dessert. Then anger is immediately introduced, and he pretty much just flips up the switch, and every time he flips up the switch, his head lights on fire, and that makes baby Riley mad, so Riley's dad puts the broccoli in her mouth, and right there, and of course you have, like, with sadness, like, you get a montage of, like, baby Riley either not wanting her seatbelt on, or wanting this toy, crying about not getting it, and right there. And then, of course, after a bit of some more montages of, like, Riley occasionally growing up around Minnesota, Riley's then pretty much 11 by the time the main plot kicks in, and the family's relocating to San Francisco because her father now has a new job. And emotions are trying everything in their power to make the movie process a pleasant experience, but it's made difficult as Riley's father struggles in his new job, and things are worse. Then things a little worsen when sadness touches a happy memory of times with their parents, and it becomes irreversibly sad. And then we see that Joy can't really fix any of the memories whenever they get touched or make any of them happy again, so she disposes of it and occupies sadness to make her read a stack of mind manuals. So Riley's personality is pretty well... Yeah, when it comes to the character of Riley's personality is pretty well built and relatable. And it's an achievement, like, since, like, usually when something like this would be considered a big plot vehicle for the true protagonists that are Joy and Sadness, the way these two interact with each other with Riley's identity is presented as a set of corridors of memory and aisles of identity, and it's a phenomenal example of intelligent animation right there. Like, and especially when the viewer's sitting there to smile to himself about the brilliance of PIXAR introducing psychoanalysis concepts to an audience, like, that's kind of composed usually for children, and these concepts are clear and understandable metaphors, like, you know you're witnessing something very special right here. And since this is definitely a Pixar movie, the emotive scenes they're definitely there here, like in the other 2000s Pixar films. They move you, they take you with them. There's charm, there's laughs. There's plenty of plenty of what was lacking in, like, many other films that try something like this. Like yeah, animation was kind of struggling around the time this came out. Like, DreamWorks films were flopping. Stuff, even Pixar themselves was in a bit of a flunk. This was the film that really brought animation back to life. There's definitely a lot of heart put in this film. And the idea is pretty simple, like, where you could see inside a person's brain right there. Now, that's actually a very, very well done idea. And Pixar really opted for a mix of, like, comedy, drama, and insightful ideas. A script like this would sound pretty simplistic, but it's really well thought out, and everything falls into place perfectly. And the real genius comes from all the wonderful ideas the writers came with to basically materialize and explain how the human mind works. So, after they move to San Francisco, you get more like bits, and they find out the movie van is not even coming in at all. Movie van keeps getting postponed, and so Riley and her mom try to go off lunch, and it turns out the pizza place that's there only serves, like, a broccoli pizza, and of course that makes Anger furious. Like, congratulations, San Francisco, you ruined pizza, first the Hawaiians and now you. yeah, then of course the next day, Riley's first day of her new school happens, and Joy pretty much orders Stannis to not touch anything and let their emotions do their job, and has to stay pretty much in her circle that Joy created to keep her out of the way. And so the transition to the new school goes smoothly at first, but then Riley gets introduced to her new class. Then Stannis literally touches a memory, and then Riley starts crying in front of the class, and it creates a new sad core memory. Joe's crying to dispose of a new core memory, and which leads to long-term memory, so it can be dumped into the abyss where the memories get forgotten about, and the obsolete memories are erased. And then the struggle between Joe and Stannis, though, when Stannis tries to prevent her from getting rid of it, it knocks out the rest of the core memories, and then they get properly sucked up into the tube along with Joy and Stannis. They're sent to the outskirts of Riley's mind, and that leaves only anger, fear, disgust in charge. And they're pretty much, and have to cause all of Riley's personality islands to shut down. So Joy and Stannis are now on, like, the back of Riley's mind once they're out of the tube, and they find themselves at the edge of the place called long-term memory, which just does, like, corridor labyrinth that houses all the old memories that are stored for later use, or if they turn gray, they're literally dumped into the dump and erased from existence completely. Joy's trying to go through long-term memory to the nearest island to return to the headquarters, but Stannis is aware of the location and warns her that it's endless and impossible to navigate without prior knowledge. Then Joy realizes the manual she had Stannis read helps the directions to the next island, so she drags Stannis along to guide her through the labyrinth, and like Stannis is just still lying there, so Joy has to pretty much drag her there, like we have to go the long, long way. Yeah, and then so back at headquarters, since fear, anger, and disgust are the only ones left in the headquarters for now, they try to be Joy and try to navigate Riley through life, but since they're not Joy, they kind of fail at it. So how the scene goes is, Disgust attempts to act like Joy first, to instigate a confrontation with Riley's parents though, but then like Fear, then of course, that doesn't work, so Disgust tries to have Fear be Joy, that also doesn't work, and so this caused an argument, and so anger pretty much makes everything all worse again, and so does his little anger thing, and that pretty much is the last straw. Riley's father sent her to her room. Right there. And that right there also, you pretty much have the scene where you meet, like, Riley's parents' emotions, and, like, anger is the one in charge of Riley's dad, and so after Riley yells to shut up, and then they put a key that inserts the foot, and like, great job, gentlemen. That could have been a disaster. And then you see Riley's emotions, like, well, that was a disaster. And they switch in memory to this Brazilian helicopter pilot right there. But then, of course, Riley's dad tries to go reconcile with her. He attempts to goof around, cheer up his clearly upset daughter. But the core memories are missing, so Goofball Island can't activate, and it crumbles and falls to the abyss forever. So then the three emotions at headquarters are realizing they're attempting to use any aspects of Riley's personality without the core memories, are going to result in the island being lost to the abyss. So the movie break pretty much there establishes this universe that's essential to movies like this, where environments carry its logic, the instinctive gravity that gets carried out with it. Like Inside Out, yeah, it does. I guess it does start slow, but that's done so we can mesh out the characters to give us a good idea how to approach the world of the mind. And you reach the dramatic conclusion. You've witnessed Riley's imaginative world, her abstract world, the dream machine, the biggest fears. The journey's far from predictable, and Inside Out explores a concept that would really get executed in many animated films in the 2000s. Like, Inside Out was made to this, like, family movie that was quite the accomplishment, and with the deeper emotional moments and better jokes. Like, the film is something for everybody to see. The visuals, the stylings, the human mind. Like, and you have to combine that with the perfect voice cast and this well-rounded script right there. And Pixar was really, like, playing with the idea of giving, like, this was, like, people were all familiar with Pixar at this rate. Like, this was a company that was giving emotions to different creatures, whether it was toys, 2 times, whether it was bugs, whether it was monsters, whether it was fish, whether it was even a rat trying to cook food, whether it was a car that can literally talk and there's no human inside of it, whether it was a robot trying to have a girlfriend, or like trying to basically save Earth, whether it was an old guy that was trying to honor his dead wife and tie balloons to his house and go all the way to Paradise Falls, where him and Ellie always dreamed of going. Right there. Whether you had toys come back the 3rd time to give us what was supposed to be and what should have been their send-off. Yeah. And they really went Inception on the viewers, and they gave feelings tough feelings here. Like Inside Out is this perfect personification to what goes on in a person's head as they think and feel different things. They have their decisions and are fueled by the multitude of emotions swirling around in their brain. Like, this was a film, like, this was what Osmosis Jones tried to be with the human body fighting off a virus. But it was an actually really bad movie because it was just gross. Osmosis Jones was just gross out, was not funny, was also kind of boring at times. Like, the animation parts were good, the live action shit sucked. The thing is, Osmosis Jones should have just been an entirely animated film. There should have not been any live action, period. If they wanted a film about the human body, it should have just been animated. But yeah, and not be directed by the Farrelly brothers. How about them apples? But like, the music for Inside Out is also great. It's nothing revolutionary. Like, the score is like composed by a longtime Pixar like scorer, Michael Giacchino, who has also did music scores for Ratatouille and Up. Like, Giacchino writes in a dirty little musical mode that really tugs on the heartstrings at the right times. And it certainly was a great aspect for the film. So, yeah. Meanwhile, back in long-term memory, they're joined scientists. They encounter Riley's imaginary friend named Bing Bong, who's voiced by Richard Kind. This hybrid creature, elephant, cat, and mixed with cotton candy. And whenever he cries candy, and has this bag where anything can literally fit in it. Right there, like, Bing Bong was out of a job and was just roaming her mind since she was 4, and was delighted at, like, the notion of helping Riley once again. And Joy promises to have Riley remember once they return to headquarters, so Bing Bong gives Joy, like, this imaginary bag, and that stores infinite objects without changing size. Like, they're able to store the core memories in there. Like, for a while, Joy's having to carry all the core memories. And he claims he knows a shortcut, and he convinces the group that rather than taking this island, they should take the train of thought. And he knows, like, where a station is that the train even stops at before it departs the headquarters. So they go the shortcut, and at first, like, this made me think that Bing Bong was going to be the villain of the film. Right here, because like we didn't really see him much in the trailers. Like, he was just kind of kept secret from everybody. Nobody really knew of this character's existence. So, and this shortcut, clearly, like, with the way he was telling to take the shortcut, I thought this guy would be an antagonist right here. But once, like, the shortcut scene happens, and the shortcut's proving dangerous, and they're like changing, it like literally changed them. It changes all their designs and stuff. Like, how the scene goes is Bing Bong just lead them to the center of abstract thinking, and that activates them all the group's venture because mind workers end up turning it on, not seeing they're in there, and it renders them more and more abstract by the second. They like change to like paper animation, or they just change to like little flash like 2D animation here, or they change to lines when Sass tells them to fall on their face, like, and fit through the door. So they barely escape, and they miss a train by moments, like, due to their close call. Then the next station he catches is only accessible through Imagination Land, and Bing Bong leads them there, though. So we get back to the real world, where Riley's life has just crumbled. Like, she's alienated her former friends from Minnesota, because like, they got a new hockey player on there. Then she quits hockey after one failed goal in the tryout. Then Hockey Island falls, and she struggled to make any new friends in her high school. And so Anger's just about fed up at this rate. And so he proposes that if Riley's favorite memories were made in Minnesota, they should go back to Minnesota to make more. So he locates an idea, which is this light bulb, like, in the back with all the other light bulbs, and that would tell Riley to run away. And that should more go wrong. They should use to convince Riley to return to Minnesota. So then we get back to the depths of Riley's mind, and like Joyce, Stannis, and Bing Bong, they're coming across like old aspects of Riley's personality and life from when she was a toddler. And among these, like, is Bing Bong's sun-powered rockets, and they arrive as their minds beginning to erase obsolete memories like these, and so of course, like, they get to imagine when they're in Imagination Land. There's like Cloud Town right there, where they accidentally like mess with a cloud person's house. Or there's French Fry Forest. Like, Imagination Land's a pretty creative place in this movie. I will definitely admit that. And when the memories are being erased, though, like, Bing Bong's rocket gets accidentally dumped in the abyss by a group of workers. And so Bing Bong's dejected and heartbroken, and collapses as like the cliff leading to the abyss, and literally, like, and pretty much begins to cry, like, there. And, like, well, Joy's trying to keep him positive, but it doesn't work. So Samus though, like, sits down, like, next to her crying friend, and Susan, while it's bewildered, Joy just looks on in confusion. So Bing Bong finishes crying, and then so they continue on their journey to the loading dock. And they're able to get on the train this time. So it's, like, night, though, like, they're reaching the loading dock, like, it's around night, though, but so the train shuts down because Riley's gone to sleep, so they go to Dream Production, which is kind of like a movie studio that broadcasts, like, dreams. And so Joy, like, Joy doesn't want to cause any more Riley any more stress, so she attempts to make Riley so happy she wakes up, and, like, so right there, like, during the time when they're trying to broadcast a dream about Riley's bad first day of school, Joy's attempts to awaken Riley go horribly wrong, and ends up literally scaring her more than anything else. So the workers in Dream Production then captured Joy, Sass, and Bing Bong. They locked them in Riley's subconscious. There's this huge dungeon that houses Riley's biggest fear, which is pretty much this clown named Mr. Jingles, who they awaken. They awaken this monstrous clown named Mr. Jingles from the depths of her mind, and he's led towards Dream Production, and it makes a nightmare that wakes Riley and jump starts a train of thought, like. And also, like, this was around the time when, like, Fear had to be in charge of Dream Duty. When he thought the dream was very lazy and cliche from what he was seeing, but then he gets startled when Mr. Jingles then shows up in the dream right there, and then so now that Riley's awake, Riley, Bing Bong, and Sass, they catch a train, and they relax as they're finally starting to approach HQ, and they're discussing all their favorite memories. So. But back in HQ, though, Anger is finally just about at his wits and out of patience, so he initiates his plan, and he plans the idea to run away. And that's, of course, she takes the idea. But though, they need money to fund the trip back to Minnesota, so Anger persuades Riley to steal her mother's credit card to finance her trip. The act causes one of her Riley's mines, which is called Honesty Island, collapses, and the train of thought is destroyed. So Samus, Joy, Bing Bong, they land near Family Island, and they attempt to make it back to HQ from there, even if they have to risk a fall into the abyss from the path back. And then the real world, Riley's packing her bag and runs away, trying to get a bus back to Minnesota. And the action causes Family Island to begin to collapse, and so that route back is impossible. Like, in some ways, it's a nice reminder how, like, even after, like, 20 years, because Pixar started in 1995 and this came out in 2015, Pixar stuck to what made them so engaging to audiences to begin with. The journeys that joined Sass, they went on this buddy travel movie that was, like, similar to, like, Buzz and Woody and Toy Story. Like, Toy Story, Pixar continued to remain focused on developing memorable characters that would help shape our us 2000s kids' childhoods. And the likes of, like, Joy's energetic personality, simplistic, and lovable design definitely will stick in anybody's heads. And like Buzz Lightyear did when Toy Story was first released. Like, the film was a reminder to show how far both Pixar and CGI animation had come around this time. Like, the world's Pixar movie takes place in the constraints of a child's bedroom and create an entire world in the mind of a child. And the world they create is something truly special. Like, other films, like, take place in a person's mind with their own distinct styles, from epic mind-bending and Inception, like Ferment Chaos and, like, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, like, and this would also be the third best attempt of that. Like, it includes, like, much as it could have developing how a mind works, and what an 11-year-old would be thinking about, especially when they move to a new place. And there's a train of thought that carries memories across Riley's mind, this place called Deja Vu that keeps popping up, and a dream center that operates like a movie studio to give Riley pretty much something to watch at nights, like, there. And even small scenes like getting the song stuck in your head, or like the Triple Dent gum commercial memory that keeps popping up, and like Pixar really knew how to tell this story right here. So now when Joy and Sass are trying to get back there, and they're trying to go through the last island remaining. The tremors, though, they rupture a tube that takes Nina memories to HQ. So Joy's trying to use it to return, and it seems that Sass and Bing Bong accompany her, but Joy observes how the core memories turn blue, and Sass is attempting to enter the tube, and so she shoves Sass out, and saying that Sass is not needed, and Riley needs to be happy. So she seals the way in so that she will herself go, and attempts to leave behind Sass and Bing Bong for means returning to headquarters successfully in the process. But the tremors rupture the tube, though, and Joy gets launched back towards Family Island. It collapses, and Bing Bong attempts to catch her, and is also pulled in along, so the two of them are now dumped to the abyss. As Samus watches on the cliff and is unable to help, so that they're now back in the abyss, and this is where all the dumped, forgotten about memories are stored to be erased. to be forgotten about, and Joy's trying to run up the cliff multiple times, but Bing Bong tells her to stop doing it because they're going to be forgotten soon, so Joy just finally breaks after that, and then she begins to cry. She huddles over the core members that she cherished on, and seeing all the other members are soon to be erased, and now realizes she really screwed up, and she notices two other memories, and the sad core memory she disposed of, a memory that Sadness said she likes, and right there though, as Joy's breaking down, she sees that memory that Sadness was talking about earlier in one scene. It was where Riley lost a hockey game for the team and felt awful. But then of course, her parents, she realized her parents came to help because pretty much Sadness serves as a beacon to others that Riley needed help. And so Joy finally realizes that Sadness' purpose was to call others for support and prevent Riley. And if I prevented Riley from being sad, Joy also prevented Riley from feeling truly happy. So she realized Sadness was indeed needed for Riley. So Joy has an idea to try to get back up that cliff. So she sings the Bing Bong Rocket song, and that causes Bing Bong's rocket to start into life. And so they repair it, and they attempt to use it to escape the abyss. So they pretty much put a ramp there, and so they use the rocket, they use the ramp they pretty much built there to get up. Joy and Bing Bong launch themselves upward, but they keep missing the cliff each time. And Bing Bong realizes he's turning to dust because he's about to be forgotten about. They realize that two people will not fit in the rocket, and they're too heavy to make the whole flight. But of course, Bing Bong keeps this realization hidden from Joy though, and pretty much decides to try one more time to go up that cliff because he knows this one will work, and he knows he's keeping this hidden. Rather than bring the rocket to the top of a huge hill, he pretty much tells Joy to sing as loudly as she can because he knows this attempt will work. So they go down the hill in the rocket, and Bing Bong in the last minute pretty much leaps off as Joy sings. He tells Joy to sing louder so she doesn't notice him. And now the rocket is light enough, and Joy reaches the cliff and is successfully saved. And then, because she didn't know that Bing Bong had stayed, and, since Bing Bong told her to sing louder so she wouldn't notice him jumping out. And then she realizes Bing Bong sacrificed at the last minute. And then she looks over the cliff at Bing Bong, who was very happy that she made it, and tells her to go save Riley. And then he says this line, "Take her to the moon for me, okay?" And then he pretty much disappears, and he's forgotten about completely. So pretty much Bing Bong is, dead. Right there. And that's pretty much, that immediately became one of Pixar's most emotional moments upon release. The script is very well written, the comedy's well timed, it's relevant and intelligent. It's right there, and this is when a film is comedy, it does the comedy at the right times, and when it's serious, it acts serious at the right times, and it shows you how every kid would feel when they realize it's time to grow up. It can be difficult to let child slip away, but it's necessary to let some of the more grown-up things be a part of us. It makes for a better person. One of the greatest approaches to the movie is how you see the emotions and the brain growing, learning as the characters age. And from the moment we're born to the moment where we die, we're learning to adopting as we enter the different stages in our life. The emotions, they're also even too learning as the characters grow. The characters they're controlling grow, and it's a wonderful symbolism for their brain developing. And the drama is very melting, and it's warm and bright, and the beats are the Bing Bong fade, the gloom of the memory dump are the most melodramatic bits of the movie to most people. But there is one bit of the movie I found to be much more emotional and melodramatic than those two moments, though. And I'm going to get to that bit in a bit. But what makes it Inside Out enjoyable is a depiction of mechanisms of the human mind. It's simplified to the artistic matter that relate to kids, not just kids, but all adults. That the manifestations are created by Riley. You have the adorable Bing Bong being part of her growing up. And Alice definitely will relate to the themes and emotions felt by them. That's pretty much the opposite of what their kids would feel. Now, we get to how the finale goes, and it really ties loose ends up perfectly, and it's pretty much wraps up all the loose ends, and it gives you the message it's okay to be sad quite a few times in life very well here. And this is where it all comes full circle. So after Bing Bong has died, we get back to the real world where Riley's boarding the wedding bus to Minnesota as their emotions are starting to realize what they've done, and they're having their doubts now. And they discover that whenever they try to abort the plan last minute, the idea is now taking control of Riley completely. And it now just rendered their attempts to console Riley as useless. So Riley's now on the bus, and now the emotions realize that they can't ever make her stop leaving. So Joyce now tries to reconcile with Sadness, and discovers that Sadness is often a clown and floating away, believing she's useless, Riley's better off without her. So she uses this imaginary boyfriend that they countered imagination line earlier that says, I would die for Riley. And Joy flings herself on this trampoline and grabs hold of Sadness before they collide with the glass of HQ. And her emotions realize that Joy and Sadness are also nearly back. And they try to get in, but Anger tries to break the window with a chair, and that doesn't work. So disgust begins to insult Anger, and then his madness head erupts in the form of a blast fire, which we kept seeing throughout the film. And disgust uses that to burn a hole through the glass, and Joy and Sadness are able to return. And so the other emotions plead Joy to get Riley to leave, but Joy instead encourages Sadness to try instead. So Sadness is successful, and it manages to detach the idea from the console. It allows her to direct Riley again. So, under Sadness' guidance, Riley returns home, finds her worried parents, and Joy then hands Sadness all the core memories, and pretty much it causes all the core memories to become sad, and Sadness, like, one by one inserts them into the projector of the console, and Riley just pretty much thinks about them, and then after that, Riley starts crying in front of her parents, and she misses her whole life in Minnesota and wants to go back to there, and her parents, like, they're not angry at her, surprisingly, and they comfort her. Like, they're saying they also miss their home right there, and the family reconciles and embraces. Like, Sadness, like, pretty much beckons Joy over to join her, and the two stimulously both hit a button together, and still crying Riley slowly brings a smile to her parents' arms, and it creates a new core memory and a mixture of sadness and joy to form. And it recreates Family Island again. So, to me, that right there was kind of a more emotional moment than the Bing Bong death, or more emotional moment than that, to be honest. Right there, and I'll get to why in a little bit. But then we get to a time later, and things have returned to normal, like Riley's mind has new core memories, and there are fusions of various emotions, such as disgust and fear, joy and anger. The emotions have their console upgraded to the teenager edition. They have new features like swear words for anger, which is pretty much censored by fear, and a large button that reads puberty, which, like, Disgust thinks is called puberty, even though it really says puberty, but Joy is like, it's probably not that important. Well, it's going to be important in the sequel, because it goes off in the sequel, and the emotions are happy at their, like, new remotes, their new console, and Sadness gets finally treated like an equal, and they're adjusting to Riley's new life, and it's the first time since the ordeal again Riley is finally happy. And that's how the movie ends, and in the credits, we see the emotions of several other cameo characters before the movie completely ends right there. But yeah, that was Inside Out. And it's definitely a great flick. But is it 10 out of 10 worthy? I wouldn't think so, because it still has some problems here. Like, first off, when it comes to the character Disgust, I thought even before the Velma show was made, I always thought Mindy Kaling was the wrong choice for Disgust in my eyes, because her performance just felt really bland, and just sounded a little more just annoyed to be considered a Disgust emotion. I do enjoy the characters of fear and anger, but throughout the movie, anger keeps blowing up a little too much, and even at fear a lot of times. Like, there's times when, like, anger's head blowing up, the gag got a little bit too old after that, so, like, and here's the thing, as sad as Bing Bong's death is to many people, a part of me did kind of know it was going to happen, because this guy wasn't really in the trailers. We never really saw him get remembered much in Riley's mind. And, like, the memory dump bit they mentioned did kind of foreshadow it. It's like, I could already tell this was probably going to happen as soon as his rocket got dumped into the abyss, so it didn't really hit me that much. So I also kind of knew he would die, like, once they reached the memory dump, his glove disappeared. So that's why I kind of knew Bing Bong would kind of pass on. It wasn't going to make it back with them. And to me, like, the bit that got me to feels way more was when, like, Riley returned home and Sadness touched the core memories of her life back in Minnesota, and they got displayed as soon as her and Joy finally got back to HQ, and then Riley broke down in front of her, tears saying that she missed her old life, and her parents console her saying they also missed their old life in Minnesota. That to me was a more emotional moment than the Bing Bong death. Right there. Right there. And that kind of a very realistic moment we can relate to. But other than those little nitpicks, like, Inside Out's a damn great animated film of the 2010s, and it totally deserved all the praise it got when it released, and all the praise it will continue to get. So in the end, you should totally watch and buy Inside Out for your collection if you're a hardcore Pixar fan and really want to see them in the golden age again after you had 3 years of disappointments. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review of Inside Out. And if we're wondering how I'm going to rank Inside Out, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you are a hardcore Pixar fan and want to see a film about your own emotions and want to see the real Pixar again, then I would totally watch and buy Inside Out for your collection, no doubt. And if we're wondering how I'm going to rank Inside Out, I'm going to give Inside Out a 9 out of 10. And there we go, guys. That wraps up my review for Inside Out. Now, I want to know in the comments down below what you guys thought of this movie, and whether you thought of the sequel as well. I'm interested to know your opinions down below. And, yeah. Until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, and don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.